Hello everyone, this is Will from Art to Will coming at you with another episode of Sketchy Chat. This week's sketch is going to be a robot gladiator. This week's episode, I want to talk about some mentalities you need to have, or should have, at least, as an artist. Last week, I talked about some ways to allow you to make efficient progress in your skills as an artist. In this week, I'd like to talk about something a little different, a different aspect of the art journey that is arguably more important, in my opinion, than just how to get better. And that's how to not quit. Specifically, certain ideas and thoughts that I've had and I still use myself to keep working and just to enjoy life while working. Because no matter how efficient your improvement process is, it will still take time, a lot of time. I'm sure you've all heard of this cliche phrase, art is not a race, it's a marathon, a lifelong one, hopefully, right? Because the one thing that every artist need on this journey, regardless of their learning process, is the vast amount of time for them to experiment, practice, and just to produce work in general, especially if you're a student. Because your lack of experience, techniques, and process and abilities in general means that in order for you to produce pieces that are comparable to someone who has more experience, it's going to take you multitudes longer, right? You have to, go back and forth and fix a lot of things and ask for feedback because you don't have all that knowledge within you right now yet, which is fine, right? Especially in the learning stages. But I know it can be very, very frustrating. And that frustration is going to last quite a while, at least until you become a working professional artist. Which, I imagine that's the most immediate goals for most students. As we talked about in the last week's video, goals are definitely one of those things that is going to help you to stay motivated and focused, especially long-term goals that you're unlikely to achieve anytime soon, right? Like what's the point of having a goal if you're just gonna achieve it very quickly, then you have to set another goal. You want it to be long-term so you can pinpoint your direction in this one long stretch period of time, and short-term goals are going to inevitably stem from them, right? For example, if you want to get work, let's say for Magic the Gathering, then a short-term goal will be you have to get better at painting or value control. But I realized throughout my art career that just having goals isn't quite enough, because oftentimes you face obstacles and failures that sometimes seem very difficult or even impossible to overcome. For example, failing to get into an art program you want to get into, like I have done multiple times, or have to work on the side due to financial reasons, which I've also had to do, and so have a lot of my peers. Or, having pressure from your family to pursue a different career path, which at this point I would like to remind you that I am Asian, so you can only imagine, right? So all those things are obstacles that an artist faces as a student, especially. Therefore, there are things that I believe you should think about that will allow you to overcome those obstacles and basically any other obstacles that kind of stand in your way in your art journey. First of all, is obviously to be patient, because as long as you don't give up, you will make it. And I'm sure that's something that many of you have heard already before from other working artists giving advice to students. And I've gotten the same advice too, and it's true for the most part. As your skills improve, you get closer to being able to get work from companies. And once you get just one or a few jobs, the experiences and skill development during that period of time, during while you're working for them, will help you improve even faster, right? Like working is actually the best learning period of time because it forces you to problem solve. It forces you to hit a certain standard, right? Certain quality standard and certain speed. And on top of the confidence boost you get from it, right? So at this point, once you get some work, you're very unlikely to be discouraged to quit, right? Because you're already kind of your feet's already in the door. Things start to fall into place gradually, and it's going to be less likely for you to want to give up after this point. And the challenge is that the speed of your progress is in your hands. So if you don't work hard or you don't work smart or you don't do either of them, you're going to take much longer to reach the skill levels required to find work. It's important to not underestimate how long that could potentially take you, right? The time before you make it, it could be very long if you don't work the right way. Therefore, the second thing that you need to do is to be very bluntly truthful to yourself. Not to like overly criticize, but you have to be true. You have to see reality for what it is. Because if you can't be truthful to yourself and your situation, then you're gonna have an unrealistic expectation of your outcome. What does that mean? That means that when that outcome is in the form of failure, like nobody's gonna be discouraged at an unexpected success, right? But if you're hoping to succeed and you set your hopes too high, where it's unrealistic, and it comes in the form of failure, it's going to be very discouraging. So therefore, you gotta look at where you currently are and compare your work truthfully to those who are getting those entry level work, right? Because that's the closest thing as a student you're gonna get is entry level work. Understand exactly how far you are from that, like which aspects you need to improve on, and sort of have a good idea of how long it's gonna take you. At least how long it's gonna take you, right, to get there. Then you can schedule out like how many hours you need to put in and divide that up on into individual days. This last thing I think is going to help tie everything together, and that's how to find the right balance in your life for you to make progress while not neglecting the other aspects of your life. See, you might be confused right now because I'm supposed to be the one giving you advice, right? Instead of just asking you more questions. But this question itself, in my opinion, is something that will help keep you walking, keep you from giving up in this path that you're walking down. And what I mean by that is it's always difficult to find balance, right? Like balance is something that is never going to be easy between work and play or work and life. In fact, it's probably harder to find balance than to make progress in your skills because individuals are different. Their circumstances are different. Therefore, it's hard to give or get advice on how you can maintain balance, right? Like it's very difficult for someone to give you advice on that. Where at the same time, it is a very necessary thing to do because if you don't find the balance in your life, it's going to make it that much harder for you to sustain what you're doing right now. By making the act of balancing your life around art an active exercise, so you're constantly doing it, you're not like you enjoy doing it. So by making the act of balancing your life around art an active exercise, you're not only helping to improve the quality of your own life, at the same time, you're improving the lives of those around you, obviously, all the while allowing you to make the most progress with the time that you have, right? You're min-maxing basically. You're juggling and you're min-maxing. Balancing life is something that you kind of need to do always on a constant basis. Like that's Like for example, if you feel like you're spending a little too much time drawing, your hands tired, then maybe you want to schedule a little more, downtime, or vice versa. Maybe you feel like you have more energy to draw and you need to spend more time to reach a certain goal ASAP. Then maybe you cut down your downtime and you spend more time working. Those are balanced things, right? Once you're able to treat it as a problem solving exercise, so you're kind of having fun with it and you don't hate doing that. You're not like, oh my God, this is a problem, that's a problem. Once you're just thinking of, oh, okay, so now I have to adjust it somehow. Let's see how I could do that. Rather than treating it as a chore, then you would have gained an invaluable skill that allows you to adapt to change while still maintaining focus on whatever you're doing or whichever goal you set for yourself. So, to summarize, the mentalities you ideally should have as an artist, as an art student especially, is first set long-term goals that allows you to set milestones as short-term goals, right? Then you balance your life and work around those goals, and at the same time, you have to be very, very truthful to yourself so that your decisions are working towards your goals rather than taking you away from them, right? And leading you to be very discouraged at times. Or just not giving you the results that you want. And once you have all those things set in order, once you have your day to day or week to week schedule set in order, then all you really have to do is just be patient and take it one day at a time, one piece at a time. It sounds simple. It's much more difficult to put everything together and into action, but I hope that this talk could help some of you in some ways, because that's how kind of what I did and got me to work in the industry and where I am right now. For example, it was important for me to be okay with rejections and failures because I was truthful to myself in the sense that I realized my skill sets just weren't there. They weren't up to standards, right? To the positions that I was applying for. And how I had to figure out a workout schedule that allowed me to stay fit and healthy as well as keep myself energetic for work. Of course, when it comes to goals, I think we all inherently have goals if we want to do art for a living, but how to prioritize the smaller goals that allowed me to improve faster and reach the adequate skill levels for me to find work. And of course, in the end, despite all the obstacles and challenges and rejections that you have to face, as long as you enjoy what you do and you know exactly where you're headed into, then all you gotta do is enjoy the process and you will get to a point where you're happy with it. And yeah, that is it for me. As always, please leave your feedback, questions, and topics you want me to cover in the future, as well as still any ideas you'd like to see me sketch in the comments. And I will see you next time.